The great hall of the alien baron was filled with laughter, sharp and cruel. The floor was made of silver tiles, and the walls glowed with soft green lights. But the people inside were not soft at all. They were warriors, nobles, and merchants cold and powerful. At the center of the room stood a human man named Yalan. He was not tall, not strong-looking, and he wore a dirty coat instead of shining armor. He was an engineer from Earth, known for fixing things no one else could. And today, he was summoned by the Baron himself. The Baron sat high on his throne, a giant of a creature with purple skin and 4 glowing eyes. His voice boomed, "You fix broken things, human, so here is a gift for you." Everyone turned their heads from behind a curtain. 2 guards wheeled in a wooden cart. In it lay a young alien woman, her green skin pale and her body still. She looked like a doll, beautiful but lifeless. Her long dark hair flowed like silk, but her legs did not move. Her eyes stared at the ceiling, empty and cold. The Baron laughed. "This is my daughter Zara. She used to be a warrior, now she cannot even walk. Maybe you can fix her, maybe not. Either way, she is yours now." The crowd burst into laughter again. It was a cruel joke. A way to insult the human by giving him a gift no one wanted. But Yalan did not laugh. He walked up to the cart slowly. His brown eyes looked at the girl, not with pity, but with curiosity. He knelt beside her and gently touched her wrist. Her skin was warm. Her heartbeat was slow, but steady. "She is alive," Yalan said softly. "She's not a thing." The Baron shrugged. "Do what you want with her. She's useless to me now." Yalan looked at the Baron, then back at Zara. "I'll take her," he said. The room fell silent for a moment. Then more laughter, louder than before. They thought the human was mad. Or maybe he was just weak, but Yalan didn't care. He lifted the cart handles and began to push it out of the hall. Zara did not speak, did not blink, but her fingers moved just a little. Just enough to show she was listening. Outside, the alien city was cold and broken, once a place of greatness. Now full of ruins and smoke. Yalan pushed the cart through the narrow streets. No one offered help. Some stared, some laughed, a few threw stones. Still, Yalan kept going. He finally reached a quiet building at the edge of the city. It was his workshop, once a power station. Now his home. Inside, machines blinked and hissed. Wires hung like vines, and strange tools covered the tables. He made a bed for Zara and covered her with a clean blanket. He didn't speak much, just worked around her, fixing machines, checking readings, always glancing her way. At night, he brought her food, soft fruits and warm broth. She did not eat, but he kept trying. Days passed like this. Yalan worked on old tech by day and watched over Zara by night. He talked to her, even if she never answered, told her stories of Earth, of stars, of machines that sang and danced. One night, while adjusting a small scanner near her hand, he saw it twitch. Her index finger moved slightly, barely at all. But it was real. Yalan froze, then smiled. "You can hear me, can't you?" he asked softly. Zara's eyes didn't move, her lips didn't part, but another twitch, this time from her thumb. "I knew it," Yalan whispered. "You're still in there." He turned to his workbench, pulled out a special device he had been building in secret. It was the start of something big, a neural link exosuit, something that could move limbs by reading brain signals, a machine to give someone like Zara a second chance. As he worked, his hands moved fast, but his mind moved faster. Why had the Baron given her away? Just as a joke? Or did he fear what she could become? Whatever the reason, Yalan had made a choice. He would fix her, not because she was broken, but because no one else believed she could rise again. And deep inside the girl's silent mind, something sparked. A tiny ember of hope. A thought she had buried long ago. Maybe. Just maybe. She was not lost yet. Yalan called it the silent room, because no one ever spoke there. Not even the machines dared to make noise. It was a small space in the back of his workshop, with dim lights and walls made of smooth stone. The only sounds with a soft hum of energy and the breathing of the girl in the bed. Zara lay there, still and silent. Her body had not moved since the day Yalin brought her from the Baron's palace. Her eyes stared at the ceiling, and her lips never moved. But Yalin saw things others did not. He saw her fingers twitch, her chest rise a little quicker when he spoke. Every morning, Yalin greeted her the same way. "Good morning, Zara," he'd say, placing a hand near hers. "Another day, another chance." He talked to her while working on machines, shared stories of Earth, of growing up poor, of fixing broken toys and turning trash into tools. He didn't care if she didn't answer. He just wanted her to hear something real, something kind. Yalin placed a thin silver band around her wrist. It looked like a bracelet, but it was a scanner measuring brain waves, nerve impulses and muscle tension. Every evening, he checked the data, hoping for signs of life beyond the surface. And one night, it happened again. Her finger moved not once, but twice, small, controlled, but real. Yalin's heart raced. He leaned close and whispered, "I knew it's you. You're still fighting, aren't you?" Zara didn't reply, but her jaw tightened, just for a second. The next morning, Yalin brought her a strange tool. It looked like a round crystal with glowing edges. "This," he said, "is a neural touch key. If you press your finger on it, it will light up. If you can do that, I'll know your brain is talking to your body." He placed the key on a stand next to her hand and waited. Nothing happened. Hours passed. Yalin worked nearby, fixing an old drone engine. His eyes kept returning to the crystal, waiting. Then it blinked. A soft, gentle light. A single touch from Zara's finger. Yalin stood up, almost knocking over his stool. "Yes," he whispered. "You did it." Zara didn't speak, but her lips parted slightly. Her eyes moved just a little, enough to shift focus. "You're awake in there," Yalin said, his voice shaking. "You're locked inside your own body, aren't you?" That night, he didn't sleep. He worked all through the darkness, pulling wires, metal pieces, and data chips together. The exosuit had to be better, stronger, lighter, more responsive. He called it Project Ember, because it reminded him of a fire barely alive, still burning inside cold ashes. Zara was that ember, in the silent room. He brought in parts slowly, piece by piece, so she wouldn't feel rushed or afraid. The frame of the suit sat beside her bed now like armor made of light and wires, elegant, not bulky. "I know you're scared," Yalin told her one evening. "But I'm not here to use you. I'm here to help you walk again. Not for them, not even for me, but for you." For the first time, Zara blinked slow and heavy. Her first true response. Yalin froze. "You agree, don't you?" he asked. Zara's eyes blinked again, once, then twice, in that quiet, still room. The silence was broken, not by sound, but by something more powerful, understanding. Outside, the world was cruel and loud. But here, inside this little room, something new was growing. Trust, but far away, in the palace, someone else was watching. The Baron had placed a tracker inside Zara's bracelet before giving her away. Now, the signal was changing. Her brain activity was rising. Her nerves were waking up. The Baron frowned as he stared at the data screen. "So the little human dares to fix her," he muttered. "Let him try. It won't last." Back in the workshop, Yalin carefully fitted a small connector to Zara's shoulder, a test link between her mind and the suit's control unit. He placed a metal glove over her hand. "Try to move your finger again," he said softly. Zara stared at the glove, her face calm but focused. The glove twitched. The fingers bent, just a little. Yalin exhaled slowly, tears in his eyes. "You're doing it. You're really doing it." Zara turned her head toward him, her neck moving slightly. Her voice came out like wind through dry leaves, broken but strong. "Why?" she whispered. "Why help me?" Yalin knelt beside her, smiling gently. "Because no one else did," he replied. "And I saw something in your eyes they didn't. You're not broken, Zara. You're waiting. For the first time." Zara blinked back tears, and in that moment, The silent room became something else entirely. It became the place where hope was reborn. The nights on this alien world were long and cold, but in Jalen's workshop, the darkness was always filled with sparks, metal sparks, idea sparks, and now, something more, hope, inside the silent room. The exosuit hung beside Zara like a shadow made of metal and light. Its shape was thin, like armor designed not for battle, but for freedom. It was built to fit her exactly, lightweight, elegant, and powered by thought. Zara was no longer just lying still. Her eyes followed Jalen as he moved across the room. Her fingers twitched more often now, sometimes enough to lift small tools or press buttons. Her voice was still quiet, but each word she spoke felt like thunder to Jalen. "Does it hurt to walk again?" She asked one evening, her voice dry but sharp. Jalen looked up from his workbench. "No," he replied softly, "but it will feel strange, like learning to be born again." Zara turned her head to the suit, her expression calm but distant. "I don't want to walk just to live," she whispered. "I want to walk to rise." Jalen nodded. "Then we'll rise together." The first test was simple. He connected the main control wire to the small implant near her spine. Then he slid the lower half of the suit around her legs, thin plates that clicked into place like gentle claws. Her body twitched as the system sensed. Tiny shocks ran through her muscles. "Just think about moving your knee," Jalen instructed. "Not too hard, just imagine it." Zara's face tightened, her jaw clenched. For 10 long seconds, nothing happened. Then movement. The right knee shifted, then bent slightly, the leg trembled. Metal whirred, and the foot pressed softly against the ground. Jalen jumped back in excitement. "That's it, you did it." Zara gave a small nod, sweat forming on her forehead. "Feels heavy," she muttered. "It'll get easier," Jalen said, handing her a small towel. "You've been still for a long time." She tried again, this time moving both knees, slowly, carefully. She lifted herself a few inches off the bed, using the suit's support rods. The glow in her chest unit flickered blue, low power, unstable, but alive outside the workshop. The wind howled and dust flew across the broken city, but someone stood across the street, hidden in the shadow of a collapsed tower, a spy watching. With an old optic lens feeding data back to the Baron leaned back in his throne as the footage played. Zara, his useless daughter, standing on her own. He narrowed his glowing eyes and said, "So the human did what our own medics could not." A cold voice beside him spoke. "Shall I send the guards, my lord?" "Not yet," the Baron replied. "Let him build her. Let her walk. The higher she rises, the harder she fall." Back in the workshop, Jalen tightened the connectors on her spine plate. "I need to increase the feedback sensors," he said. "They're still too slow for upper body movement." Zara's fingers moved over a panel nearby, typing a code. "What if I help with the software?" she asked. "I was trained in war interfaces." Jalen looked at her, surprised. "You know code?" "I was more than a fighter," Zara said. "They just forgot that when I couldn't walk." They worked side by side now, her mind sharp, her memory deep, together. They rewrote the exosuit's response code, improved balance algorithms, and strengthened neural link stability. Sometimes they shared jokes, dry ones, short ones, the kind only engineers and ex-soldiers would find funny, but it was enough to break the silence. Enough to plant laughter in soil where only pain had grown before. Late one night, during a systems reboot, the power flickered and the room fell into darkness. Only the soft blue light of the suit lit Zara's face. In that moment, she spoke again. "Why do you really care?" she asked, not looking at him. "You didn't even know me." Jalen paused, then sat across from her. "Because I know what it's like to be called useless," he said. "On Earth, I wasn't a soldier or leader. I was the dirty mechanic. Always too small, too weak, too odd." Zara's eyes met his. "But you built this. You made me walk," Jalen smiled. "Because someone gave me a second chance once. Now I give it to you." Suddenly the scanner on the wall beeped. Motion detection outside, unmarked life forms approaching. Yalin ran to the monitor and saw shadows moving toward the workshop, 3 figures armed. "We've got company," he said, locking the door and powering up the security grid. Zara looked at the suit beside her. "I can help," she whispered. "Not yet," Yalin said, handing her a plasma rod, "but soon, I promise." The sparks were no longer just in the machines. They were in her eyes, her voice, and her will. The darkness had come to test them, but this time, the fire was ready to fight back. The night was heavy with silence, but it was not the calm kind. It was the kind that came before danger, the kind that made machines pause and the stars seem still. Yalin stood near the workshop's main door, holding a low-powered pulse rifle. His eyes focused on the shadowy shapes outside the window. "They're not local thugs," he muttered. "They move like trained soldiers." Zara sat on the edge of her bed, half inside the exosuit. Her fingers gripped the metal armrest, her body trembling with effort. "Baron's men," she whispered. "He knows I'm standing again," Yalin nodded. Then he's scared. The door sensors blinked red, motion closer. Yalin activated the inner security shield, a thin energy layer that could stop a blast, but only for a few hits. He turned to Zara, his voice steady but urgent. "You've done the training, you've built your control link, but are you ready?" Zara looked at the suit, then at him. Her voice came soft but firm. "Turn it on." With a deep breath, Yalin pressed the activation button. A soft hum filled the room as blue light raced through the suit's frame. The armor plates clicked into place around Zara's body, legs first, then waist, chest, arms, and finally the neck guard. Her head rested inside a smooth metallic collar lined with neurofilaments. The lights dimmed for a moment, then glowed bright. The connection was complete. Zara's chest rose sharply. Her hands moved steady and controlled. She pushed herself up, standing for the first time without help. Her steps were slow, shaky, but real. She took a breath and whispered, "It feels like freedom." Before Yalin could respond, the outer door exploded inward with a burst of green fire. 3 soldiers in black armor stormed in, weapons raised, eyes cold. "Step aside, human," the lead one barked. "The Baron wants the girl back." Yalin stood in front of Zara, holding the pulse rifle tight. "She's not going anywhere." The soldiers stepped forward, their movements sharp and confident. But then metal footsteps echoed behind Yalin. Zara stepped beside him, standing tall, blue light glowing from her suit. Her long black hair framed her face like fire in the dark. "She will speak for herself," she said. The lead soldier froze. "Impossible," he muttered. "She was paralyzed." "Not anymore," Zara said, "and I will not return to a cage." The second soldier raised his weapon, but before he could fire, Zara moved. The suit boosted her forward with a quick burst of energy. She struck the gun from his hands with a spinning kick, then swept his legs and slammed him down. Yalin fired a warning shot near the third soldier's feet, forcing him back. Zara landed a punch that sent the first soldier crashing into the wall. One by one, they fell not killed, but disarmed and defeated. The room fell silent again. This time with a new kind of power. The steel in Zara's body had awakened, but so had the steel in her heart. She looked at the soldiers and said, "Go back to the Baron. Tell him I walk again, and next time I won't be so kind." The men scrambled away, dragging their injured with them, disappearing into the shadows they came from. Yalin turned to Zara, a smile on his face. "You just wiped the floor with 3 royal soldiers." Zara gave a slow smile, rare and fierce. "And I didn't even break a sweat." But inside, she was shaking, not from weakness, but from the fire of rising power. The suit had awakened her body, but it was her will that moved it, not wires, not code will. She sat back down, breathing hard. Yalin knelt beside her, checking the suit's systems. "No overloads, no joint stress. You handled it better than I expected." "I was trained for war," Zara said quietly. "Even if my father forgot that." Yalin leaned against the wall. Tired but proud, he didn't forget. He tried to bury it, tried to break it, He failed, Zara replied. Later that night, while Yalin recharged the power cells and repaired the door, Zara stood quietly under the stars. Her thoughts were distant, dark and sharp. She had once led troops into battle, commanded ships, fought for her people, but when her legs failed, they abandoned her. Even her own father threw her away, but not this human. He didn't ask for anything, didn't treat her like trash. He built her back piece by piece, like she was worth saving. And now, for the first time in years, Zara felt like herself again. Not just alive, not just standing, but becoming something more. A spark burned behind her eyes, not just for revenge, but for something deeper. She would not run, not hide, not beg. She would rise, and when she did, the whole world would see what true strength looked like. Not in a throne, not in a weapon, but in steel that walked again by its own will. The next morning, the sky above the alien city was thick with dust and pale light. But inside Jalen's workshop, the air felt different. Zara stood tall, fully dressed in her upgraded exosuit. Her movements were smooth now, less like a machine, learning to walk and more like a warrior, remembering how to command space. She moved through the lab quietly, checking wires, adjusting settings, testing sensors with the focus of someone who had something to prove. Not to others, but to herself. Yalin watched her from his desk, his eyes proud but cautious. He knew the Baron wouldn't stay silent after last night's failed attempt. They'll come again, he said calmly, and they won't just send 3 this time. Zara nodded. Good, she replied. Let them come. Just then, a knock echoed on the metal door, not a soldier's kick, not a thief's silence, but something different, measured, confident. Yalin and Zara exchanged a quick glance. He grabbed his plasma tool, just in case, then opened the door halfway. Standing there was a tall alien man in royal silver armor, with long facial ridges and deep black eyes. He carried no weapon, at least not in his hands. Behind him were 2 silent guards. I come with words, not war, the visitor said, his voice cold like winter wind. I am Vexel, the Baron's messenger. Zara stepped forward, her mechanical steps echoing through the hallway, her face calm but sharp. Speak then, she said. And leave. Vexel gave her a thin smile. You've surprised us, princess. We did not think your mind would ever rise again, let alone your body. I didn't rise for you, she snapped. Or for the Baron. No, Vexel said, turning his head slightly. You rose for this human engineer, didn't you? Curious. Yalin didn't answer. His hand stayed near his tool, ready if needed. Vexel pulled a small glowing cube from his coat and placed it on the table. A hologram of the Baron flickered into life. Towering, massive, eyes glowing. My daughter. The Baron said, his voice distorted but strong. You walk again, I should be pleased. But instead I am insulted. Zara crossed her arms. You gave me away like garbage. You were no longer fit to rule, the Baron replied. I thought giving you to a human was the end of your story. But now you turn your shame into defiance. She leaned closer to the image, her voice low. And you're afraid of what that means. I offer a final warning, the Baron said. Return to the palace, submit, and your name may still live with honor. Refuse, and you will be hunted, and the human he will be erased. The hologram vanished, silence returned. But it wasn't the peaceful kind, it was the kind that comes before a storm. Vexel stepped back toward the door. You have 3 days, he said softly. Use them wisely. When they left, Yalin slammed the door shut and began locking down the shop. We have to prepare, he said. They'll bring drones, probably. Full force military. I'm not going back, Zara said. Even if they burn this place down. I know, Yalin said. But you're not just fighting to survive anymore. You're fighting to be something more than what they expected. Later that evening, the 2 sat together, surrounded by open machines and half-finished armor upgrades. Zara was silent, watching the sparks as Yalin welded new parts into the wall panels. Her mind ran deep, not with fear, but with thoughts. I was supposed to lead armies, she said at last. They trained me from childhood, but when I lost my legs, they erased my name from every command file. No one visited, not even my siblings. You were only valuable to them when you could serve their image. Yalin replied, they feared your strength because it didn't come from them. She looked at him. But you, a stranger, chose to believe in me. I don't fix machines that have no hope. Yalin said with a smile, and you've got more fire in you than I've seen in anything. Zara stood up slowly and walked to the back of the room where the training chamber was kept. It was old and barely functional, but enough for one thing. Practice. I want to test the full suit, she said. No limits. For the next hour, Zara moved like wind through the training course, dodging metal arms, blocking incoming shock rounds, and leaping over obstacles. Her exosuit adapted to her every move. She wasn't just controlling it anymore, she was one with it. At the end, she stood tall, chest rising with steady breath, glowing softly in the dim light. They think I'm still broken, she whispered. They're wrong. Yalin looked at her, more convinced than ever. You're not the Baron's daughter anymore. You're something new, something they can't name. Zara nodded slowly, her eyes burning with a fire that hadn't been there days ago. Then let the Baron send everything he has, she said. Let him see what happens when steel remembers how to rise. Asterisk. The city below the ridge was quiet, too quiet, from the rooftop of Jalin's workshop. Zara stood like a statue of steel and purpose. The sky was painted in violet and rust. Storm clouds rolling in slowly like soldiers marching across the heavens. The countdown was over. 3 days had passed. The Baron's warning had expired, and war had arrived from the edge of the city. Zara could see them, shadows moving in formation, armored vehicles rolling across broken roads, drone swarms buzzing in the sky like metal insects. Her father hadn't sent a message. He had sent a battalion. Yalin walked up behind her, placing a hand on her shoulder armor. They really think you're going to surrender, he said quietly. They never understood me, Zara replied. They thought breaking my body would break my will. Inside the workshop, the defense systems hummed online. Auto turrets unfolded from the roof corners. Energy shields flickered into place. But they both knew it wouldn't be enough, not against a full royal force. We can't win by force alone, Yalin said, his mind racing. But maybe we don't have to. Zara turned to him. What do you mean? We show them what you've become, he said. Not what they fear, but what they tried to bury. If you walk out there and face them, not as a soldier, not as a threat, but as something greater, you could break their belief. She looked down at the army, her eyes unreadable. And if they shoot me on sight, then they show the galaxy who they really are, Yalin replied. And who you really are. A long pause followed. Then Zara gave a slow nod, then opened the gate. With her exosuit humming softly, Zara stepped down from the rooftop and walked toward the street. The giant metal gate hissed as it opened, revealing her glowing silhouette against the rising dust. As she stepped onto the cracked road, the soldiers in front of the palace columns stopped moving. The drone swarm paused overhead, scanning, confused. One of the captains shouted, "Halt, princess. You are under order to return by force if necessary." Zara kept walking, her voice steady. "I am not your princess." Weapons raised, mechanical. Locks clicked, but no one fired, not yet. Zara stopped 10 feet from the lead tank, her armor lit up with soft blue pulses. Each movement graceful, like a flame dancing in wind. "You came to drag me back in chains," she said loudly. "To erase me again. But look at me, look at what you feared." Some of the soldiers hesitated. One even lowered his weapon slightly. "I was not broken." Zara continued, her voice rising. "I was caged, buried, forgotten by my own blood." The tank captain stepped forward, visor lifted, revealing a familiar face, Commander Alrex. Once her second in command, his expression was hard but shaken. "You should not be able to stand." Zara stepped closer. "And yet I do." Inside the palace, The Baron watched everything from his throne. The feed broadcasting live, his fists clenched. "End this," he growled to the officers beside him, "before they believe in her again." Back on the battlefield, drones suddenly turned red attack mode. All turrets locked onto Zara, Jalen's voice crackled in her earpiece. "Zara, get back, it's a trap." "No," she said calmly. "This is the moment." As the drones fired, Zara's suit flared with energy. Her arms moved faster than any eye could follow, redirecting blasts. With magnetic fields, each step she took was defiance made real. And then she did something no one expected. She knelt right there in front of her former soldiers. She knelt not in surrender, but in honor. "I am not your enemy," she said softly, "but I will not kneel to injustice ever again." The silence that followed was louder than war one. By one, the soldiers around her began lowering their weapons. Even Commander Alrex looked away, ashamed. Back in the palace, the Baron's face turned dark. "Traitors," he hissed. "All of them." In a sudden rage, he stood and slammed his hand on a control pad, activating the override protocol, Zara's old spinal ID, a secret shutdown command buried deep in her old suit code. But it didn't work. Jalen's modifications had removed it long ago. All the Baron saw was an error screen, blinking red. "Override denied." Zara stood again, turning her gaze toward the palace walls far in the distance. "You gave me away as a joke," she said softly, "but I found something more powerful than your armies." Alrex stepped beside her and spoke to the soldiers. "Stand down. She's not our prisoner anymore." In that moment, the army did not see a broken girl in armor. They saw a survivor who refused to bow. A warrior made stronger by failure. A daughter not of a throne, but of her own will. She was broken no more. She was reborn in steel and truth, and the world had no choice but to watch her rise. The palace gates loomed like stone giants as Zara approached them alone. The armored road behind her was silent. The soldiers who once served her father had stepped aside, watching her in awe, not as a command, but out of respect. Jalen stood far in the distance, at the edge of the battlefield. His voice came gently through her earpiece. "You don't have to go in there alone." "I do," she whispered back. "He gave me away like a broken toy. He needs to see what I've become with his own eyes." The wind tugged at her hair as she climbed the marble stairs, each step heavy with memory. This was the place where she once trained, once dreamed, once sat beside her father on royal platforms, thinking she would one day lead their people. Now she returned not as heir, but as something far stronger herself. Inside the palace, the great hall was quiet. Guards lined the edges, stiff and nervous. The Baron sat at the top of the golden stairway, surrounded by silence. His glowing eyes narrowed as she entered. "So," he said, his voice deep and slow, "you came to kneel after all." Zara kept walking until she stood at the center of the room. Her armor hummed with gentle pulses, her eyes calm but sharp. "I didn't come to kneel," she said. "I came to speak for the last time." The Baron stood up, towering in size and shadow. "You were nothing without me," he growled. "I gave you life, name, rank, and you repay me by rising from the dirt like a rebel." "You didn't give me life," Zara replied. "You only gave me rules to live by, and shame when I couldn't follow them. The human gave me something you never did, freedom to find out who I am." Gasps echoed through the hall. The guards looked between them, confused, shaken. "I didn't need your blood to be strong," she continued. "I needed someone to believe I wasn't worthless, and I found that outside your walls." The Baron stepped down a few stairs, his anger rising. "You dare speak of humans as your equal?" "No," Zara said, stepping forward too. "I speak of him as someone better than you." For a moment, there was silence. The two figures, father and daughter, stood facing each other, once bound by blood, now separated by truth. The Baron raised his arm as if to strike her, but paused. Her armor glowed softly, but her face was unafraid. "If you raise your hand again," she said quietly, "it will be the last time you raise it as a ruler." Slowly, he lowered it. "I won't take your throne," Zara said, turning away from him. "I don't want it. I don't need it. I walked in here to prove one thing: your power ends when your fear is no longer useful." She walked back toward the massive doors. The guards did not stop her. Not one raised a hand. Some even looked down as she passed. At the top of the palace steps, she looked over the city, the broken towers, the cracked streets, the people staring from rooftops and windows. She raised her voice, amplified by her suit system. "I am not here to rule," she said. "I am not here to destroy. But let it be known, no one decides your worth but you. I was thrown away, and yet I stand here today, not because of power, but because I refuse to disappear." And with that, she walked down the steps alone. Not escorted, not protected, not carried. She walked with the grace of someone who had earned every step back. Yalin was waiting at the bottom. His eyes met hers, full of pride and quiet joy. "You did it," he said. "No," she replied with a small smile. "We did." They returned to the workshop together, no longer fugitives, no longer hunted. The Baron never sent another message, never launched another army. His silence became the loudest proof of his defeat. Weeks passed, then months. Zara began teaching others, those injured, abandoned, forgotten like she once was. Together, they built suits, tools, and confidence. Yalin stood by her side, always building, always believing, and one night, as the stars stretched wide above the roof of their training center, Yalin asked, "Do you miss the palace?" Zara shook her head. "No," she said. "That was never home." "Then what is?" He asked gently. She looked at him, at the young trainees practicing behind them, at the machines glowing with new energy. "This," she whispered. "This is home." And in that moment, the girl who was once called broken, once given away as a joke, once forgotten by power, stood taller than any throne could ever lift her, because she had walked the hardest road, alone, and now, she was never alone again.